Just to do some quick introductions. So my name is Peter Kurjanowicz. I'm the Senior Director of Growth. I've been at Everflow for 6 years. I'm based in Ohio. And also presenting with me is Alora Johnson. She's a Customer Success Manager, specifically on Everflow Pay. She's been at Everflow for 2 years, and she is from Southern California. She also comes from a finance background, which is really fun too. So feel free to ask her questions and advice on some of that stuff too. Here's the agenda. So we're going to go through how Everflow Pay works with our current invoicing system, and then how to onboard partners and obviously yourselves to Everflow Pay, and then what lies ahead in the roadmap, and then we'll finish off with some Q&A. So I'm actually a lot of this presentation is actually going to be a demo of Everflow Pay and how it works. Really, there's a couple of different ways to set up invoicing. So our invoicing module has been a part of Everflow for a long time. What I'm going to be showing you here is really high level how to, manage the invoicing module, and then also how to set it up with Everflow Pay as well. So I would say the invoicing module, the best place to start is in the control center configuration in the billing section right here. And these two sections right here are kind of most important for a lot of our clients. Number one, partner restricted payment methods. What this means is when you have Everflow Pay, it'll show up here. And what it means is that when a partner logs into their account, they can't set up any other payment method other than Everflow Pay. So this is going to help avoid any kind of confusion around any other payment methods, because if you're only using Everflow Pay, you can enable it here. As a side note, you obviously can use other payment methods alongside Everflow Pay as well. And this is good if you're going through like a migration to Everflow Pay. You can enable multiple payment methods and allow them to continue to use, like say PayPal on top of Everflow Pay. And you can continue to use like your old payment methods as long as you want as well, as you're in the migration process. Another section here that's super important is the default billing settings. So what this frequency, what all these settings do is when a new partner is added, they just take all these settings automatically, which avoids any confusion in, hey, is this person payable? How are the invoices getting generated? Like it just kind of does it all automatically for you, instead of having you have to go into each partner and set this up after they either sign up or they're added manually. So the billing frequency is how often do you want to invoice yourselves to pay them, basically. A lot of our clients do monthly and then one. And what this means is the invoice will be generated on the first of the month for the whole last month. And if you were to say set this to like day 10, it means that the invoice start date would start on the 10th of the month and go to the 9th of the next month. So that's why most people do the first, because that makes the most sense. And then there's also other settings here as well. Some people do weekly, bi-monthly. And as another note, these are the default settings, but you can always change it at the individual partner level as well. So you don't need to always like stick to the same settings for a partner. So if you want someone to get paid more frequently, you can just set that up. This is more for as partners come in, what are they set at right when they get their Everflow account. You can also select the default payment method. And when you select Everflow Pay here, Everflow Pay is really the only one that works really seamlessly here. The other integrations, they can get applied, but there's more information that needs to be gathered from the payee in order to actually become payable. With Everflow Pay, it's automatically applied to them, and I'll show you the actual payee onboarding process. It's very seamless and smooth. You can also enable automatic invoice creation, which will generate the invoice in an automatic way. So the start date, I always recommend just putting the start date of your program or when you first joined Everflow. That's the best, because it'll pull in all the stats into the next invoice. You can set a delay here, which I would say not too many people use. This is more if you're like want to delay the invoice from being generated because you have a reconciliation period. But there's two ways to handle this. You can do the delay, but you can also hide invoices from partners and then sync them. So that way you get all your invoices generated, and then you can sync them before you pay them to account for any kind of reconciliation or refunds or anything like that. to ensure that like you kind of know where I'm at on the first, and then it's not going to be hopefully too much different than where you're at like when you go to pay the partners. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of the delay, but some people do like it. Enable invoice threshold. So this is important for, you obviously don't want to pay a partner if they've only generated like $1, right? It's like kind of not even worth to pay them yet. So you can set a threshold where you could say, I only want the invoice to generate if they're over $100, and we just keep a running tab for that affiliate. And it could, even if it takes them like 4 months to get there, eventually on month 5, that invoice will generate for them. You can also set default payment terms and custom as well. So payment terms are just when should your affiliate expect to actually be paid? So monthly net 30 means invoice generates on the first, and then you have to the last day of the month to pay it, basically. And we also have help desk documentation on all of these settings. So this is not a new thing, but I just wanted to highlight this as it's important for Everflow Pay. The next step is really setting up partners on Everflow Pay as well. So number one, in the partners manage section, you can see payment method here. And you can see that obviously all of these are Everflow Pay in our staging account. And then on top of that, you can see if they're payable or not. And you can, if I were to click into test partner, if someone is not payable, if I go to this billing in more details, you can see also why they're not payable, which is something that we just offer for Everflow Pay because we have more intimate knowledge of exactly what we're waiting for and the status of that person. If you go to someone that is payable, here's what it will look like. So you can see payable, yes, Everflow Pay. You can see the invoicing period. You can also see more information about their payee account that's linked to this. Okay. And you can, on top of this is a really cool feature where you can request outstanding balance. It's not necessarily related to Everflow Pay, but you can basically see how much is outstanding for this affiliate. Like if they haven't hit that $100 threshold, like how much have they not been paid yet, which is also a fun feature. So in terms of the onboarding process for payees, I actually impersonated partner ID 1. So this is what they see when they first log in after Everflow Pay has been applied. There's this little warning message, which is only shown for Everflow Pay as well, because it's a fully integrated system. We don't show this for like PayPal or any other payment methods because we don't have as much information on like, how they become payable and all that stuff. It's kind of more handled by the individual provider. So, but with Everflow Pay, we do, so we can display these types of warnings. And then you hit configure here, and then there is a phone verification. And then once they verify their phone number, this is where they're putting in their company information and individual information, their tax information, so their business address, their social, or their EIN number. And the reason we collect tax information is because we will generate 1099s and 1099s, or W-9s and 1099s. And then banking information is where they input their how they want to be paid, and then their account numbers, routing numbers, and all of that information. There's also a little note for them. Once they submit this information, there's actually a transaction test or a penny test that will go to their bank account, and they need to log back into their Everflow account to verify their bank. So you'll see in the status of that pay, they'll see pending, penny test pending is actually one of the statuses. It means that we're just waiting for that penny test to be validated. There's also a probation period for payees of 48 hours too. So usually people can complete most of that in 48 hours, depending on how quickly the money hits their account for that penny test. But this is basically the setup process. And then they can review the T&Cs and then hit next. And then once they submit their info, you can also, I'm going to impersonate someone that is payable back here. I might have already impersonated him. Okay. So this is, I impersonated Michael Jordan, and they can see their information here. Just as a side note, this is a staging account, and that's why this information is visible here. In live accounts, if you impersonate a partner, we gray out all of this. You can't see their checking account numbers, anything like that. So any of your network employees that don't have actual access to this account can't just like impersonate them and see their banking information or any kind of personal information here. And also, they can't change this. Obviously, if someone's impersonating a partner, they can't add their own bank account information or edit the partner's bank account. That's obviously a big no-no. So, all of this stuff is grayed out, but for the staging account, it's not, because none of this is actually real anyway. And then they can also see a transaction history. So what's pending, what's been paid, what's been rejected. They can also download their invoice here as well. They do have a pending payment, so I'll kind of go through that right now as well. So if you go to partners and then the invoicing section, so this is back in your UI, the employee login for your account. You can actually see all the invoices, and these can be generated automatically, like I showed before. And then this person is owed $25. You can see that they're payable. And then once you want to pay this, you would just select pay with configured method. I've already done that. So you can see the status is actually in progress. And if I go here into the invoice, you can see more information down at the bottom here. So you can see the submission time and everything as well. And so once that's submitted, that's when things start to happen actually in the Everflow Pay login. So this is a separate login for the finance person at your company. So they potentially don't even have to log in to your Everflow account at all. They can just have access to the Everflow Pay account, and that's it. Just a quick overview of this account. This is how much is available. You can see pending deposits, and these deposits are frozen for 72 hours. So they need to wire money into this account and to basically fund the wallet, and that money is held for a few days. And then they can see the total amount available, or the total amount here. And then this bank information is how they actually send money to fund their wallet. So this is everything that's needed to actually send funds. There's also some shortcuts here where they can view statements. This is where you can actually see your bank statements here. You can also add users as well. So if we add a new user, they would get access to this account. And then this dashboard, you can kind of see a lot of stuff that's kind of in progress for the last 30 days. This is the payment that was just sent over. So what you can see is that the total amount is $25. The amount that's paid to the partner is $22, and the transaction fee is $3. So obviously this is coming out of the amount that's paid to the affiliate. You can also say, I want to pay $28 and pay them $25 to account for the transaction fee, and you pay the transaction fee. And that's just a setting that you need to reach out to your Everflow Pay account manager, and they can actually set that on your account for you. Once you're okay with this, you can actually click approve payment. You can also do this in bulk if you want to approve payments, like all of them in a row. And then you can also see a history of ones that were rejected and the reference code and everything there. A couple other things. So you can see a more detailed view of the transactions for certain periods. You can also see more information about the payees, who's payable, who's not. You can also filter who's in probation, who's payable, the payment method, all of those different settings here. And that's really it for the Everflow Pay dashboard. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible. And that's also, why we wanted this to be a separate UI, just for finance people to be able to log in and do what they need to do. So the next thing that we wanted to cover is how to actually set up a payer account. How do you set up Everflow Pay? So what you can do, so this is an account that doesn't have Everflow Pay enabled yet. If you go to Control Center, Integrations, and then Billing, you can apply here. And then this application is reviewed and you're approved or denied. You can also, right now, I don't know if some of you have seen it, also have in the invoicing section here, if you don't have Everflow Pay, we pop up this where you can activate it straight from here as well, without having to go all the way into the billing section to do it. And then the third way is you can just contact your account manager at Everflow, and they can just manually enable it. They'll collect some info from you, basically all of this, and then enable it on the back end as well. So going back to the roadmap now. So this is a very high level roadmap of what we plan on releasing in the next couple months. So W-9 and 1099 automation. So being able to actually generate not just collect the information, but also generate both forms automatically. This is going to be done very, very soon. The next thing on the roadmap is insufficient funds reminders. So if you, for example, pay out more than you have, or trying to hit pay inside of Everflow, and it's for more than you actually have in your wallet, we're going to send your finance team an insufficient funds reminders. So that way it reminds them to top up to basically meet whatever that balance is. We also have non-payable email reminders to payees. So a huge pain point is having to manage the process of onboarding payees. So what we're trying to do is continue to improve that process. And one of the ways that we want to do it is constantly remind them that they need to, like, if they have, for example, an invoice that they need to be paid, we're going to remind them and say, hey, if you want to get paid for this invoice for this amount, make sure to log in here to input your bank information and go through the process to become payable. So that way people aren't just sitting there unpayable, and now you have all these invoices that you need to then go follow up with all these payees. So we want to kind of like automate some of the communication here and send them a lot of reminders to input their information. Later is, so right now with Everflow Pay, it's just US bank account to US bank account. And that's just during the initial testing period to ensure that we're getting people that are obviously using it a lot with the US side, and we do have a lot of people requesting international, so that's also being worked on. I would expect that to be live probably sometime next year. We're also working on a QuickBooks integration as well to just be able to push all of the invoicing data to QuickBooks. And then the last feature is a multi-brand reconciliation. So a lot of our clients actually either manage multiple brands or work with multiple advertisers, and they need a way to basically manage the reconciliation across all of their partners for different brands that are paying them different amounts. And that's basically what that feature will be. It's a fairly deep feature that will require a lot of feedback from our clients, which we're already starting to work on, but feel free to reach out to us if you have other features or things that you think could be good for us to build. So now we're going to open it up to a Q&A session. So feel free to put your questions in the Q&A section, and I will answer them right here. I'll also be looking at the chat, so you can use that as well if you would like.
Someone did ask to see the invoice. So can you show what the transaction inside Everflow Pay looks like?
Yeah, the invoice for the partner, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So number one, you can see the invoice in a couple different places. So the invoice right here, if you download this, this is actually a staging account, but let me see if I can get it from this section too. Download as PDF. We'll see if this actually works in staging. Okay. So here's what the invoice looks like right now. It's like very, cut and dry. We're also talking about adding more columns to this invoice, including like quantities and amounts. I think that's also in progress right now. And if you have like other things that you would like to add to this invoice, just let us know as well. We're actually considering doing some revamping of this. Another question that we had was, can you explain the costs and fees? So the transaction fees are $3 for domestic ACH and $25 for wires. We have a couple more questions coming in. So do you have a timeline on international payments? So international payments will likely be Q2 of next year. I would say that's a relative time frame that we can give for that. And then the other question is, what are payment methods you offer and the fees? So, and also what are the currencies? So right now it's just US dollar to US dollar. So there are no currencies because they're not international payments, and there's no exchange rates or anything that we're doing right now. And then the fees are $3 for ACH and $25 for wire. And that's just domestic US bank account to US bank account. We have one more question. So the tax forms are being worked on right now, and that should be done within the next week or two. And the nice thing is we're obviously collecting all this information, so it's all retroactively done. And then another question from Michael, what are your recommendations for onboarding and transitioning affiliates? So what I would do if you're onboarding or transitioning affiliates. So number one, it also depends on your business. So I've seen clients just straight up tell people, hey, we're moving to Everflow Pay. Here's, the process of getting set up. I've also seen people start to use Everflow Pay alongside their current solution and just say any new affiliates that are coming in are set up on Everflow Pay. And then we'll kind of like see how that process works. And then at maybe the start of next year, for example, that will migrate everyone else, right? So they're straddling two payment systems for a short amount of time, but it's allowing them to onboard new partners with Everflow Pay and test the other solutions at the same time. And the nice thing with Everflow is like, you can straddle two different payment solutions at the same time. In the partners invoicing section here, there can be people that are tagged with, say, PayPal and Everflow Pay, and when you hit pay as configured method, it just pays them one guy from PayPal, one guy to Everflow Pay. So it doesn't discriminate against the different payment methods that people are selecting there. Okay, a lot more questions here. Okay, new to Everflow, I have an onboarding call today. Any reason why we would not want to use Everflow Pay? Oh, Mary, that question just disappeared. Maybe it was answered.
Oh, sorry, I typed an
Oh,
answer. I didn't realize it would move it. Apologies.
sounds like if the affiliate is outside of the US. Yeah, basically that's the biggest limitation right now is that if you're paying people internationally, you'll probably have to do it with another method, maybe like PayPal or something in the meantime. Let's look at any plans to add an advertiser invoicing to this to be able to send directly from Everflow. So you want to actually send like a pay request to your advertiser. Is that correct? Well, I'll come back to that one. I think we need more clarification on that. And then Lori asks, does the invoicing system allow the generation of credit memos if adjustments need to be made in future months? We don't have that right now, but I actually think that's a really good request, Lori. So if you want, feel free to like email me after this and we can talk more about that. Do you foresee a NetSuite integration? So we haven't really looked into NetSuite, but if you're interested in NetSuite, feel free to email me directly. My email is peter@everflow.io, and we can talk about NetSuite and exactly like what you would like that integration to look like. I think we pretty much answered all. Oh, can you talk about refunds? Okay, so in terms of refunds, so Everflow Pay itself is really just a payment rails that sits on top of the Everflow invoicing system. So how refunds work within Everflow is it's a bit of a manual process in terms of like a lot of people like to do refunds in different ways depending on their business. If the partner's already been paid and they have another invoice that's outstanding, say for the current month, you can always go into the invoice here and you can add a detail that says adjustment for refunds from last month, and you can actually subtract money from that. So you could say, hey, I want to subtract $50 from your invoice. So, well, you can't do this one because it's already pending, but if their invoice wasn't pending, you can actually add this and it would actually take money away. Well, you can't take away more than it's worth, but you can take away like say $10 here, and it would basically take money away from their current invoice if they've already been paid for the previous period. If their invoice is still pending for this current period, it's a little bit easier. You can obviously go in here and just edit it and then do it before it's been paid out already. So there's no like automatic way to do it with Everflow. And I think the problems that we had are a lot of people handle refunds in so many different ways, and they're using different tools to handle them as well. Everything from different shopping carts to like their own homegrown systems. So it's one of those things that is, there's so many different options, and then there's so many different like ways that people handle it that that we haven't built anything automated yet. So let's get through some more of these questions. So what type of email notifications are sent during the payments process? Invoice creation, payment created, approved. So the payments process, you can actually see these. Let's see if I can go. So here's this is the partner account. So you can actually see these notifications here. So we have payment executed, and then invoice available as notification just around the invoicing module. And then like what's not listed here is for Everflow Pay when they're setting up their bank account and there's penny test or it's been applied to their account. We also will send them notification that just isn't listed here as well. But they can edit these notifications for the payment executed and invoice available to only get them in app or get them email just in the partner UI as well. Okay, and then Richard was asking, hi Pete, we are looking at other account packages, APIs. So I'm assuming this question is just, is there an API available for Everflow Pay? The answer is no right now, but I think in the future, possibly. And then Michael is asking if we wanting to get in touch with you to talk about our company's transition process, we reach out to Pete or Laura. You can reach out to both of us, Michael, or either of us. It's fine. We can both handle your questions. And then Anonymous asked if we want to pay 2 invoices in one invoice, like add September invoices to October's one and send all the balance. Is there a way to do that automatically? Yes, there is. So at the beginning of the presentation, what I was talking about here is in the billing section. If you enable default billing settings and you enable automatic invoice creation, you can set this start date instead of November, you can set it to October 1st and it'll just pull in everything. So that's why I said, like, you want to start this when you want to start processing payments using Everflow. So if you know someone hasn't been paid for October or a bunch of people haven't been paid for October yet, and the stats exist in Everflow, you can actually like kind of retroactively go back and once the invoice is generated for, say, December, it'll pull October, November, December all into the same invoice, as long as they are over this threshold, for example. So that's how that would work. Export payments to CSV. So you can export all of your invoices. So number one, you can filter by paid or unpaid, and then you can export all of these to CSV, JSON. You can actually even export them to QuickBooks format. And then you can do PDFs as well. Okay, so that is all the time we have for questions. Like I said, feel free to reach out to your Laura and I, and we can help you with any questions or help during the transition periods. Thanks everyone, and we'll put this video on the help desk. Bye.